ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशव वामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। So in the last session we saw that Krishna has talked to Arjuna from the highest point of view, that is from the Paramarthika point of view, that there is really no person here who is merely a body mind sense complex. Everyone that is here, including me and you, are nothing but Atma Swarupas. And also Krishna realized that it's not very easy for Arjuna in this kind of a situation when he is exposed to this knowledge. May not be for the first time. Arjuna is also a learned person. Arjuna has also studied Vedas, but then probably this topic about from the highest point of view, from the Paramarthika aspect, saying that it does not matter what you do, you are just the Atma Swarupa, Akarta, Abhokta, Atma, and therefore you don't have to worry that these actions are your actions. Now, when Krishna is saying this, it may be really difficult for Arjuna at that point of time to accept this, to understand this. And Krishna comes down one step lower and says, it's all right. Even if you don't accept this, even if you take it from a practical point of view, you have to understand that anything that begins has to end. And therefore, anybody that has been born has to go, has to die. And therefore, all these people whom you call Swajanas are here who are mere bodies who have had a date of birth, and they are going to disappear sometime or the other, and you're only a nimitta matra, which Krishna is going to say later. Nimitra matram bhava savya sachin, he says later. But now he wants to say that even from that point of view, you don't have to have the sorrow that these people are going to die, because what is born has to die. It is the body that is born, and it is the body that has to die. Then Krishna comes down one step further and talks to Arjuna about doing his duty from the point of view of his dharma or swadharma. Now, at this point, I feel it's very relevant to talk about what is dharma in a general way. Let us talk. It'll come further also in this entire text of Gita. Dharma also comes, the definition and also the the idea, the detailed ideas about dharma also come in Bhagavad Gita later. But here now, generally, now let's say what is this? What is the meaning of dharma? What is this dharma? Now, dharma is a word which has got many connotations. And contextually, this meaning of dharma differs from one context to the other. Right from dharma can mean the lord of death, Yama. From there, dharma can mean duty. Dharma can mean law. Dharma can mean one's particular attitude or attribute or a visheshana of something else. Like a flower is yellow in color. So the yellowness of the flower is its dharma. So dharma has got many, many meanings. But then when we take dharma from this point of view here, we have to understand what is the meaning of dharma. Dharma comes from the root dhar, that means dhru, which means that Dharanat dharma. Dharanat. Dharanat means that which supports, that which upholds, that which nourishes. What is that? What is that which upholds, sustains, nourishes? What does it nourish? What does it uphold? It upholds the conducive living of the entire society with all its members. Now, dharma also means the conduct and the way of life of an individual, of various individuals in the society, so that the individual growth is not hampered, the free will of the individual is not hampered, the progress of the individual materially as well as the spiritual growth of the person is not hampered. At the same time, the individual growth does not come in the way of the growth of the entire society. So, this dharma is something which integrates the lifestyles, the conducts, the way of life of every individual with a bigger set to which he belongs. Now let us take an individual as a small circle or a subset. Now an individual belongs to a superset called as the family. Now the family dharma and the individual dharma, here dharma means the way of life, how the individual conducts himself, how the family conducts itself. Now they should not be at loggerheads to each other. That this individual dharma and family dharma have to be a cohesive dharma where there is a there is a symbiotic living, there is a growth encouraged, helped by each member of the family. Now, the family forms a subset, and the community in which the family is forms the superset. Here also, the dharmas of family and the dharmas of the community are not at loggerheads with each other, and the dharma of the society supports the growth of the individual family, and the dharma of the individual family supports and encourages the growth of the the community. Now community becomes a subset, and the entire society in which the community is there, that also becomes the superset. In this way, if you see, from an individual up till the entire humankind is something where it is a subset and a superset where the values of the individual are not contradictory to the value of the society and the bigger circle. So here the Vyashti Dharma and the Samashti Dharma. Vyashti means the individual Dharma, and the Samashti Dharma means the total Dharma. The total may be anything now. It could be a family, it could be a community, it could be a society, it could be a Rajya, it could be, the country, it could be anything. Now, it should not be at loggerheads. So, Dharma is what? That it individually and mutually it helps in supporting each other, so that the entire society lives in a kind of a cohesive state where everyone is instrumental in not only his own growth, but for the growth of other people also. Now, this dharma can be divided into broadly into two. One is called as the Samanya Dharma. Samanya Dharma is that which remains the same in all periods of time, and this dharma is applicable to all societies of all the countries. Now, what is this Samanya Dharma? This we call it to a, to some extent in English, dharma cannot be really translated properly. We can say it's a way of life, it's a conduct of life, living the conduct of individual and society. Now here Samanya Dharma means here there are certain values. We can say loosely, we can translate dharma into value systems. The sense that the value systems here in Samanya Dharma do not change. Now, what is this Samanya Dharma? Samanya Dharma is Satyam. Satyam means speaking the truth, honesty, integrity, I mean, to a large extent, honesty, speaking the truth. Now, I want others to speak the truth to me, so I should also be speaking the truth to them. Satyam. Then astheyam. I don't want somebody to steal my belongings. Therefore, I should not be stealing somebody else's belongings. Astheyam. And then ahimsa, most important. That was the first one I should have probably said. Ahimsa. I don't want to be harmed by somebody else, and therefore I should not harm somebody else. This not only applies to the human jivas, but it applies to all the other jivas also. So there are certain values which are there in all three periods of time, applicable to every individual of every society, like the Satyam, then Astheyam, then Ahimsa, then Dhriti, then Arjavam, Daya, Indriya Nigraha, Shaucha. All these things Krishna is going to talk as values in the 13th chapter. Amanitvam, Adambitvam, he's going to. This is nothing but the values which can be loosely called as dharma. A value ridden society, a society which is embedded with these values, is a society which is living a dharmic life. Now, there is something called as a Vishesha Dharma. Vishesha Dharma means a dharma which cannot remain constant all the time. A dharma or a way of life or a conduct in an individual or in a family or in a community or in a society or in a country which changes depending upon the need of the time. There is a Kala Dharma. Okay, what happened in Krita Yuga, what happened in Treta Yuga cannot be relevant now, isn't it? That is not relevant at this moment of time. So many things were there at that time which are not relevant at this time. Then there is something called as a Desha Dharma. In certain places of geographical importance, certain places, certain things cannot be done, certain things have to be done. So there is a Desha Dharma, there is a Kala Dharma, there is a Yuga Dharma, like what I said, Yuga Dharma. And this particular Mahabharata, which is, which Bhagavad Gita is a part of, is actually happening at the Sandhi Kala of the Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. It is the Sandhi, or it is at the border of Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. And that is why we see that there is so much of a kallola of values. Some of the values, the dharmas of Dwapara Yuga, are slowly disintegrating, and the dharmas of the Kali Yuga have slowly started coming up. So this is a period of a lot of churning between the two Yuga dharmas, Kala dharmas. So in a particular situation, for example, ahimsa is a Samanya dharma, yes, which all of us have to follow as a part of Samanya dharma. But there may be a time in somebody's life where I may have to do himsa to protect myself or to protect the society, like a war, what is happening here. A Dharma Yuddha where the Pandavas have to engage in himsa, but it is not called as himsa. This is where the Kshatriya is trying to protect the Dharma by trying to get rid of those who are adharmis. Now, one of the special dharmas or Vishesha dharmas is what is called as the Varna Ashrama Dharma. Varna means division of the society based on the tendencies of a person, guna, and what this person is capable of doing, karma. This is not caste system. We have to understand it very well that Varna system is not a caste system. It is dividing the society into 4 groups depending upon the tendencies of a person and that in which that particular karma or action in which that particular group of people are good at. So this comes more in detail in Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam when Krishna himself talks about the Chaturvarnas, the Varna Chatushtayam. So right now here, we'll just, it's enough for us to understand that every Varna or every group in the society divided on the basis of one's tendencies and one's karma, guna karma vibhagataya, whatever division of the society is made, it is called as Varna. And every Varna, that means whether it's a Brahmana Varna, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra, every Varna has its own specific duties, Vishesha Dharma. Now Krishna is telling here, all this, introduction is that, when Krishna talks about this Swadharmam apicha aveksha, where does it come? Swadharmam cha api apeksha. It comes in the 31st verse. So when Krishna talked about the Atma Swarupa Sankhya or knowledge, Atma Jnanam, then came down to the practical level of saying that everything that is born has to go. Now in the next 2-3 verses, Krishna came down to the level of Swadharma, because now Krishna's only purpose is to somehow motivate Arjuna to fight. So he's going from the highest knowledge, coming down step by step, and in some way he wants to motivate Arjuna to start the war. So he told, Swadharmam apicha aveksha na vikampitum arhapsi. You cannot waver, Arjuna, even taking your Swadharma. Your Swadharma is what? It is your way of life, the conduct of life. It is your Kshatriya Dharma that whenever and the society is in danger, you are the protector of society. You have to protecting the people, protecting the society is the dharma of a Kshatriya. And when this protection of dharma has to take place, especially when adharma increases in the society, and this particular yuddha is a dharmyadhi yuddhat shreyot anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate, he said in the same verse, in 31st verse. This kind of an opportunity to find a dharma yuddha, fight a dharma yuddha. You did not plan for this yuddha, Arjuna. You did not want this yuddha. But then, yadrichaya cha upapannam, it came to you by chance. And when a chance like this comes, which a kshatriya probably is waiting for all his life, it is not correct, not right on your part to give up this opportunity. You as a Kshatriya should be grateful for this chance that has come to you to fight this war. And in the 32nd verse, he said, Yadrichaya cha upapannam, that which has come to you by chance, by God's grace, to fight such a war where you're protecting the dharma, you're protecting the society from adharma, upholding the dharma, sukhinaha kshatriya patra. Such a kshatriya is a sukhi, such a kshatriya is a blessed one who has the opportunity to fight this kind of a war. And very rarely a kshatriya gets this kind of an opportunity. And this yuddha is literally opening the swarga dwaras for you, because fighting this yuddha itself, when you are upholding the kshatriya dharma, you have done a job which is in keeping with dharma, and swarga is the phalam for that. And the swarga dwaram apavritam, the gates of heaven are already open for you. If you die in this war, still you will have the viragati, because you have died fighting for dharma. If you win this war, then the rajyam with the more chance for you to establish the dharma is there. And therefore, he says in the 32nd verse that you should not give up this opportunity. Now let's go to the 33rd verse. What Krishna says here is, Atha chetvamimam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि. So hey Arjuna, atha chet tu imam dharmyam sangramam. Imam dharmyam sangramam. This dharma yuddha, in case at present na karishyasi, if you don't engage in this dharma yuddha, if you don't fight this dharma yuddha, what will happen from there? Tataha swadharmam kirtincha hitva. That means you have given up your swadharma. And later on also Krishna says that giving up one's swadharma is not only a papa in the sense, papa means it will give rise to various kinds of situations which one will not be able to deal with. That is that will explain when we come to the swadharma. And what is it, that why paradharma is bhayavaha, why swadharma is safe, because you have grown up in that particular way of life with that conduct of life, and that is what is most suited to you. If you don't do that, it means that you are giving up that which you are supposed to do. Whatever you are supposed to do, wherever you are, in whichever situation you are, depending on whichever varna you belong to, whichever ashrama you belong to. Ashrama means brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasa. These four ashramas and these four varnas, wherever you belong to, wherever you belong, whatever you are supposed to do, at that moment, at that time, in that situation, depending on where you are, that is dharma. That is dharma one has to. It is very difficult to give one real definition of a dharma. It is a very, very broad concept, and all these things have to be brought together. But only we can say this is that dharma. When individual is following his or her dharma, that becomes the very support or adhishtanam which upholds the values and the growth of entire society. And if you give up your swadharma, what are you going to do, Arjuna? Hitva, by giving up. What are you giving up? You are not only giving up your swadharma, but you are giving up your kirti also. Your kirti as a great kshatriya, your kirti as a great warrior, you are giving it up. Now, Krishna wants to come down and talk to Arjuna from the point of his kirti. See, ultimately, for every one of us, what we are in the society, how the society looks upon us, what is the opinion of the society, about us, is very important for everybody, isn't it? The kirti means whether I have a kirti or not, but I want to be talked about in a nice way, in a positive way, by everybody, whatever I may be doing. So everybody wants some kind of a kirti, and there are some lucky people who have a lot of kirti they have kind of earned in their life, and Arjuna is one of them. Arjuna has earned a lot of kirti, or lot of kirti means even a word for fame, you can say, very, very loose translation of kirti is fame. You are a very famous person, Arjuna. You have gained this kirti and fame not only by fighting so many kings, but you have gone to the heavens to help Indra to fight a war to help him. You have got all the Divya Astras and Shastras presented to you by Indra. You have fought with Shiva in the form of a Kirata Arjuna Yuddha, and then happily Shiva has given you his Pashupatastra. His Pashupatastra he has given you very, very happily, that you have, it will be useful for you. This is your fame, this is your kirti. You have accumulated such divine missiles. They are not simply astras and shastras. Arjuna's astras are literally missiles. And you have that fame and you have that kirti. And just imagine, Arjuna, you are not going to fight this war. You're going to waver about fighting this war or not. And you're going to just leave this war and run away from this war and give up your swadharma and want to live on bhiksha in the forest. What kind of a apakirti it will be? What kind of a fame about you? What will it be for you? How will people talk about you? How the history is going to, how you're going to go down in the pages of history. That is going to be explained by by Krishna in the next few verses. In the 34th verse, he says, Akirtinchapi bhutani कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः मरणादतिरिच्यते. Hey Arjuna, you are a Sambhavita. Sambhavita means the one who is looked upon with so much of awe by people. A Sambhavita person you are, a very famous person who has a Kirtivanta, you are Kirtiman, you are a Kirtiman Manusha. But then for such a person, Akirtim chapi bhutani katayishyanti. All the people in the society, whoever is remaining after this war, including your own cousins, they're only going to talk about you as what kind of a kirti this person has. He has run away from the battlefield out of fear. That's what Duryodhana is going to say. And Arjuna, remember that if you decline, if you deny fighting this war, your other four brothers are also not going to fight. Arjuna is the nerve center of the strategic planning. Bhima may be a very, very, a person with lot of bala. All the five brothers are, yes, they are all war, yuddha, nipunas, they are all yodhas. But then Arjuna is actually the strategist, the very nerve center of this. And if Arjuna decides not to fight, I don't think any of the other four brothers are going to fight. It's like literally giving away the victory very easily to the Adharmis, to Kauravas. And what kind of an akirti you will have, that you will just fall from that kirti, from that fame. And this fall is what? Maranad atirichyate. This fall of yours is even worse than death. You know, we have seen that, when a person, gets totally, that apakirti comes, and there is so much of insult, apamana. Many people even commit suicides because they cannot face the society, they cannot face the apamana that has happened. And what will be your fate, Arjuna? That this apakirti is worse than death. Marana datirichate, Krishna is saying this. And what will they say? How is the apakirti going to be spread about you? What are the people after the war? How are they going to talk about you? What are the future generations going to say about you? What will they say? Bhayadranaduparatam mansyante tvam maharathaha yesham chatvam bahumataha bhutva yasyasi laghavam. Bhayad ranad uparatam mansyante tvam. All those people on the other side, your enemy side, on the other side, and all the others who are going to survive this war will say you ran away out of fear of Duryodhana, fear of Kauravas, fear of the war, whatever it is. And yesham chatvam bahumato bhutva lasyasi laghavam. You will be talked about in such light terms. Laghavam, you'll become a topic of gossip, isn't it? Laghavam is very loosely they will talk about you. Your apakirti will be such that, you'll be talked about very, very loosely by all other people. And what kind of a talk will they have? I won't even be able to tell you that. So he says, Avachya vadansya bahun. Next verse, 36. Avachya vadansya bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha nindantastava samarthyam tato dukkhataram nu kim. Hey Arjuna, what people are going to talk about, I can imagine, but I can't even put them in words. Avachya vadansya bahun. You yourself, what kind of gossip talk there will be about you. I cannot even tell, I cannot even use those words. What are going to be talked by tava ahitaha. Tava ahita. Those people who are your enemies, ahitaha, those who are expecting you to lose this war, that will be the most wonderful thing for them if you run away. Nindantah stava, nindantaha tava samarthyam. Your samarthyam. Forget about you. Your samarthyam is going to be talked about very loosely. Tato dukkataram no kim. What can be more, you know, more depressing? What can be more dukkataram than this? You, Arjuna, being talked about like this, going down in the pages of history as a person who ran away out of fear, who will be the gossip of drawing rooms and dining rooms of people who are going to survive you. And tatho dukkataram, what can be more disgraceful than that, Arjuna? And forget about all these things. You may be worrying whether I'll win this war or whether I will lose this war. Don't worry about that. Whether you win this war or whether you lose your life in this war, it does not matter. As a Kshatriya Dharma, you have to fight this war. And if you win this, you are winning. If you lose this also, you are winning in some way. It is a win-win situation for you, Arjuna. In what way is it a win-win situation? Is going to be told in the 37th verse here. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhokshyase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayah. Now he says, Hato va prapsyasi swargam. I already told that. If any person, not only you, anybody who gives up his life fighting for his motherland, for dharma, if you die in this war also, if you lose this war and die, you have died fighting against adharma, and definitely you will reach or achieve higher lokas, swarga loka. Jitva va bhokshya se mahim. If you win this war, you will be the adhipati of this entire mahim, this entire, jagat. You will be, jagat means this entire bhumi, this particular rajya will be yours. Bhokshya se, you will enjoy the rajyam that you have. Tasman, therefore, hey Arjuna, no way are you going to lose. Even if you die, you are going to win. Even if you win this Rajya, it is a win. So therefore, it's a win-win situation for you, Arjuna. Tasmat, therefore, Uttishta Kaunteya. Get up. Get up. What is now Arjuna doing? He's sitting down. He has put down his, his bow and his, quiver with the arrows, and he's sitting down, on the floor of the Ratha. Tasmat Uttishta. See what a counselor, what a motivator Krishna is. He started from the highest truth of Adhyatma, and now he comes down to motivating Arjuna again. He did that in the first part of the second chapter. Kutastva kalmashamidam. He said that. What is this? This kind of a weakness in you. Klaibyam. What is this klaibyam? Unmanliness in you. He said that. Now again he's saying, in a different way to motivate Arjuna. Tasmat uttishta, get up Arjuna, yuddhaya krita nishchayaha. May you make up your mind right now. Krita nishchayaha yuddhaya. That means, Arjuna, you have to decide for the war. Conches have been blown. Everything is ready. You're just waiting for you. Please do not waver. Na vikampitum arhasi. There is no room for wavering here. Please get up, Arjuna, and fight. Here, with this, Krishna talking from the Atmajnana Drishti and from the motivation Drishti is over here. Now, second chapter being a kind of an introduction to all that is to come in the future in Bhagavad Gita. Atmajnanam has been explained. Now, Krishna wants to start talking about Karma Yoga. Jnana Yoga or Sankhyam about Atma and Atma Vidya was talked about earlier from the 12th verse to the 25th verse. And then in between from the 25th to the 37th, a few other things were talked about from the Vyavaharika point of view, from the worldly point of view, from the morality point of view, from the practical point of view, from the dharma or the conduct point of view, and also from the personal kirti or fame point of view. With this now, Krishna wants to go to talk about, if not anything, Arjuna, you have to fight this war as a karma yogi. Now, next verse, the 38th verse, is a seed verse, which we call as the Sutra Shloka for Karma Yoga. And from this verse onwards, Krishna is going to give a very broad view of what Karma Yoga is. Like he gave a very broad view of Atmajnana in the 12th to 25th verses. From this verse onwards, he is going to give a very broad view of what is karma or action, what is karma yoga or the attitude with which this karma is done. And hey Arjuna, right now you have to do this karma, this action of fighting the war. But how should you do it? You should do it with an attitude of karma yoga. And what is this karma yoga? Now he is going to just give an introduction to karma yoga in the next few verses. And karma yoga will be dealt in detail in the third chapter and further in the other chapters also. So now the 38th verse is a seed verse. He is planting the seed, or we call it the Sutra Shloka, the introductory shloka to the Karma Yoga. Now he says, Sukha Dukkhe Same Kritva Labha Labhau Jaya Jayau Tato Yuddhaya Yujyasva Naivam Papam Avapsyasi. Now he's bringing karma yoga here and he says, Yuddhaya yujyasva. Yujyasva means may you connect yourself. Yuj. May you connect yourself. Connect yourself means what? Bodily, attitude wise, mentally, psychologically, whatever job you are doing. Now, fighting this war is your karma. May you connect to that job. Yuddhaya yujyasva. Yoga means what? It comes from yuj dhatu. When two things are connected, when you connect yourself to something, that is also yoga. That's why all these chapters in Bhagavad Gita are, sorry, all these adhyayas in Bhagavad Gita are called as yogas. It's not that, I'm very sorry. It's not that Vyasacharya gave these names. No, Vyasacharya did not name these chapters as this chapter, that chapter. It must have been given later to make it easy for people like us who learn Bhagavad Gita, where every chapter was given a name called as something yoga. Like here it is Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means what? All about Atman. So it starts with talking about Atma Swarupam. So it was called as connecting myself to that knowledge of Atma. It was called as Sankhya Yoga. Similarly, now all the chapters that are going to come in the future are going to connect Arjuna and us to whatever is the real implication, the purport of what is described in this chapter. So here he says now, Arjuna, Yuddhaya Yujyasva. May you connect yourself with this Yuddha, which is right now what you are supposed to do. Yuddha is the context here. Supposing Krishna was talking to a housewife, a homemaker, he would not have said Yuddhaya Yujyasva. May you connect yourself to your family, he would have told. Supposing Krishna was talking to a student, he would have told, connect yourself to the study of whatever you want to study. So here, Yuddha is the context. Arjuna is a Kshatriya and he is gathered here to fight a war. So having this context, this is your karma now, Arjuna. Yuddhaya yujyasva. May you connect yourself to what action you are supposed to be doing now. And how do you connect yourself with that? Sukha dukkhe same kritva. Now, this entire thing will be the explanation in further chapters. Arjuna, don't bother that this particular yuddha, this action that you are going to do, whether you are going to get sukha out of it or dukha out of it. Now your duty is to fight this war. Whether it brings you into a conducive situation, whether it gives you unconducive situation, sukha or dukha, an unhappy ending or a happy ending. Even while fighting the war, whatever kind of situation it brings you, conducive situations, unconducive situations. Sukha dukhe, sukhancha dukhancha, sukhe dukhe, both of them same kritva. May you not judge them. This is better than that. That should have no. Sukha and dukkha. May they be the same. In what way? In your attitude towards them. May your attitude to a good ending or a not so good an ending, whether it is labha or nashta, whether it is sukha or dukkha. When you're doing any kind of an action, the opposites or the dvandvas are definite. They are known. You cannot predict. No person who's acting can predict that it is going to be only this or only that. It could be from here to here, from sukha to dukkha, from one pole to the other pole. It could be anything. So, may your attitude be samatvam, same in both these situations. Labha alabhav, jaya ajayav. It could be a labha to you or an alabha to you. This entire situation, karma that you are going to do, it could be labhadayaka, alabhadayaka. It could be jaya or ajaya. Jaya prada or ajaya prada. Whatever it could be, it may give you jaya, it may not give you jaya. But then, may you be ready, may you get yourself to be with this, connect yourself with this yuddha and do this action that you're supposed to do with an attitude of karma yoga. And the attitude of karma yoga is basically not bothering or not really keeping one's attention on labha, alabha, dukha, sukha, jaya, ajaya. But this is what I have to do. I will do this to the best of my ability. In the future verses in the second chapter itself, Krishna says, doing what you are supposed to do with the best of your ability, in the best of whatever way you can, with dexterity. He says, karmasu kaushalam. It will come in the 43rd, 44th verses, it will come. So, doing what are you doing with kaushalam, with dexterity, with giving, putting your best in it. And Arjuna, what comes out of it, take it with equanimity, with equalness. Samatvam yoga uchate. So, karma yoga means what? Yoga su karma kaushalam. Okay, karma kausalam means whatever you are doing, karma kausalam, and yoga to the yoga is that, and accepting sukha, dukkha, whatever comes with samatvam, with equanimity, with equality. Samatvam yoga uchate. Karmasu kausalam yogam uchate. This is what is the sutra of karma yoga, which he is going to elaborate in this chapter also and in the next third chapter also. And he says, Tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. So, Arjuna, when you do your duty with the attitude of karma yoga, with the best of your ability, and taking whatever comes as a result of your action with equalness, then you will not have any kind of demerit or papa. Papa means what? Papa, punya, papa. We all know. We can't translate that also. Punya is translated as merit, which I accrue, and papa is as demerit. It is, that's how in English it is said. But all of us know what is papa punya. So when I do something that I have to do, the way it has to be done as my dharma with the best of my ability and take what comes with samatvam, then whatever may be the result, you cannot acquire any negative phala out of this. Therefore, naivam papam avapsyasi. You will not get any kapapa at all. In the next verse, in the 39th verse, Krishna says himself, says that all this time I was talking about Atma, Sankhya, but now onwards I am going to talk about this yoga or karma yoga. So he is only explaining it now in the 39th verse. He says, Yesha te bhihita sankhye buddhi yoge tvimam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. So Yesha te abhita sankhye. All this time I talk to you about Atma. What is Sankhya? Samyak khyayate iti Sankhya. That is, Atma Tattvam is called as Sankhya. And this Sankhya is what? This Sankhya is that which is revealed by the Upanishads, which is revealed by the our scriptures or Vedanta. So, Vedanta or our scriptures are called as Sankhya, Sankhya. And that which is revealed by the Vedas or Vedanta is called as Sankhya. What is it that is revealed by the Sankhya or Vedas? Sankhya. Sankhya means that which is nothing but Atma. Another name for Atma. So, hey Arjuna, Yesha, I have talked to you about this Sankhya Buddhi so far. Okay? Sankhya or Atma, nature of Atma, and what you are, and what is your real nature, and why is it that you as an Atma, as Akarta, Abhokta, all that I have talked to you. So all this time I gave you the knowledge of Sankhya or Atma. Now, Yoge tu imam shrunu. Hey Arjuna, now I am going to talk to you about yoga. What is yoga? Karma yoga. Sankhya means Atma Jnanam. Yoga here means Karma yoga. Karma yoga is also known by many names. Other Karma yoga is one of the name. Then yoga is just plain yoga is one of the name. Buddhi yoga in another place Krishna uses this as Buddhi yoga also. So now yoge to imam shrunu. Hey Arjuna, now I am going to talk to you about this yoga. What is this yoga? Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo तस्माद् युद्धस्य युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापम avapsyasi, which is said in the previous verse. That attitude with which you do the karma, that attitude with which you face the results of your actions, this is called as yoga or karma yoga. And hey Arjuna, you should know both, because if you are not yet prepared for this Atmajnanam, then you have to take to this karma yoga to prepare you. And he says, Bhaik yoge tu imam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha yoga buddhya yukto karma yoga buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Now, Krishna wants Arjuna to listen about this karma yoga. Bhai, karma yoga is a preparatory phase of jnana yoga. Jnana yoga is what? Knowing about the Swarupa Mahatma, which was already talked about in a very, very brief, in a summary kind of a manner, just an introductory kind of manner. But Krishna knows that Arjuna has not really understood that. And to understand anything, especially a subtle knowledge like Sankhya, Sankhya here does not mean a system of philosophy. There's a system of philosophy called Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa. Not that Sankhya. Sankhya here means Atmajnanam or Atman. And to understand this knowledge, to understand Atmajnanam, hey Arjuna, you need a preparation. Your buddhi needs to be prepared, isn't it? Like when there is something subtle to be known, I have to prepare my mind, my intellect. This is the only intellect, it is a common intellect to understand the worldly objects. It is the same intellect by which I have to understand this very, very subtle what? Consciousness, Swarupam, I have to understand also with the same buddhi. And as I go higher and higher in knowledge, I need to prepare myself. Primary school is a preparation for the high school. Why? What is taught in the high school cannot be learnt by a child without going to the preparation of the intellect that happens in the primary school. High school is a preparation for the university. And then the university or graduation is a preparation for the postgraduate. And again, a postgraduate is maybe for a doctorate. We have seen this. In any branch of knowledge, unless there is a preparedness of the mind, unless the intellect is properly prepared, knowledge cannot really take its stand. Knowledge will be of no use. Whether it is Laukika Jnanam, it is the same thing in Atma Jnanam also. Though Atma Jnanam is talking about myself, but it is such a difficult and a subtle knowledge that my mind should be absolutely well prepared for it. And Karma Yoga is the preparation of the mind. Karma Yogena or Karma Yoga Chitta Shuddhihi, it is said. Now, our minds, our intellects are gross because they are all the time involved in the world outside, in the objective world. And to know this subject consciousness, the intellect has to go through a lot of subtlety. It has to undergo a lot of preparation. It has to undergo a lot of purification, clearing. See, when gold comes, it comes in the form of an ore, correct? There is so much of, there is, clay in it, there is mud in it. And initial process is what? It has to be gross impurities have to be cleared first. And then the gold has to undergo another preparatory, cleaning process. And lastly, maybe the process of electrolysis or something where you really get that final element. Similarly, all the grossness of the intellect has to go in preparation for understanding this knowledge. And it is said that Karma Yoga is the preparedness, or Karma Yoga is the preparatory stage. Karma Yoga is the preparation for refining this mind, refining this intellect, removing all the gross impurities that are there. It's not our fault because our intellect is gross because it is dealing with the gross things outside. And if it is the same instrument which has to be used for a subtler activity, the instrument has to be purified, the instrument has to be more sensitive. You see, it is the same axe used to cut the trees. It is the same axe which is used in the operation theater in cutting the bones. It is the same axe in a very small manner which is used in your neurosurgery or eye surgery. Now, what is the difference? The axe is the same, the instrument is the same, but depending on what it is used for, that axe has to undergo so much of, has to be made more and more and more and more sensitive. The instrument becomes more sensitive. The instrument has to become more sensitive depending upon what is the grossness or sensitivity of the activity that is to be done. What instrument I am going to use, how gross should be this instrument, how subtle should be this instrument, depends upon what is the grossness or subtleness or subtlety of the activity I am doing. And Atma Jnanam is the subtlest of the activity where I have to completely change my vision from aham body to aham, that akarta, abhokta, nitya, shuddha, buddha, mukta, atma aham asmi iti. I have to change my entire paradigm. And for this knowledge to work, what would be the preparation required for this intellect? It's not a one lifetime's preparation. It may take lives and lives for this, chitta shuddhi to happen. And it is this chitta shuddhi which is the preparation, and karma yoga is the first step of the stage of preparation. Then comes keeping the mind focused, chitta naischalyam, which has to happen by the upasana yoga. And lastly, jnana yoga, or exposing this intellect, prepared intellect, a shuddha intellect, a non-wavering intellect, capable of focusing on the knowledge which should be had, focusing on that, I have to get this knowledge, Jnana Yoga. So, this entire Atma Jnanam goes in 3 stages. Karma Yoga, by which Chitta Shuddhi takes place, the grossest level of preparation. Then comes Upasana Yoga, where subtler preparation of the mind in the expansion of the mind and focusing of the mind on what is to be done, Chitta Naischalyam. And then comes ultimately exposing this instrument, prepared instrument to this knowledge called Jnana Yoga. So, second chapter, being an introductory chapter, Krishna is going to give a little bit of all these things. And he gave a little bit of Sankhya, a little bit of Dharma. Now he is going to give a little bit of Karma Yoga also here. And all these are going to be talked about. So, Yoge tu imam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha, the one who is endowed or the one who successfully is able to understand this karma yoga is the one whose mind or intellect is prepared. So, Arjuna, now I'm going to expose you, or now I'm going to talk to you about Karma Yoga. That means doing the very action that you are doing with a proper attitude. This is called as Karma Yoga. And I'm going to introduce you to this Karma Yoga because right now it is most essential for you to prepare your mind for what is to come later. And Karma Yoga itself being the preparatory stage and going through the other stages. Karma Bandham Prahasyasi. Karma Bandham means normally whatever action I do it with the intention of getting a result. Very fine. Absolutely no problem in that. But I do it with what? I am the doer. I am the doer. With the Kartritva Bhava, I do the action. And naturally, whatever result comes, it comes to the Karta, isn't it? When I do the karma, I get the phalam of that karma. Now, in Karma Yoga, the attitude with which the Karma Yoga is done, the attitude with which the karma is done, that is Karma Yoga. The attitude by which or with which you do the karma, Arjuna, is incapable of binding you with papa and punya. Now, karma can bind me with the karma phala. Either it is drishta phala, which comes immediately, or adrishta phala, which comes later in time in the form of papa, that is unconducive circumstances, or punya, sukha. But Arjuna, when you do any action, any karma with the attitude of karma yoga, with the right attitude, there itself, as a karma yogi itself, you are not bound by the results of your action. Why? It is the attitude with which you do is more important. And from now, for the next few verses, Arjuna, I am going to talk to you about the attitude with which you do the karma. This is called as Karma Yoga. So next few verses will be on Karma Yoga and also the most important verses of Bhagavad Gita, Karmanyeva Adhikarahate, Yoga Karmasu Kausalam, Samatvam Yoga Uchate. These are some of the gems of Bhagavad Gita are going to come in the next few verses, which probably will be taking with the next class or next to that. And this is literally the crux of Bhagavad Gita teaching, where Krishna talks about Karma Yoga. So with this, we'll stop today's session. Om Nandantu Sadhaka Sarve Vinashyantu Vidushakaha Avastha Shambhavi Mestu Prasannostu Guru Sada Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkham Apnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.